Jong Hae went into Yi-joo's room and unplugged her ventilator, revealing that she had hated Yi-joo from the moment they first met at the orphanage. Jong Hae mocked her, saying that they were destined to be together, and advised her not to be so kind in the next life, as it would only bring trouble. Yi-joo was a good daughter-in-law. That day she was sitting and drawing a family portrait, hoping to finish it in time to give it to her parents as a gift. Her brush paused on the face of her husband, Se-hyuk, reflecting how happy she felt to be married to him. Once the picture was done, she received a call from her mother-in-law, who told her that in an hour she would be bringing friends over for dinner and that Yi-joo should quickly prepare the food. With time running out and the workload heavy, Yi-joo had to ask her younger sister-in-law for help. To her surprise, her sister-in-law immediately refused without hesitation. Feeling helpless, Yi-joo had no choice but to clean up and cook alone. While preparing the meal, she accidentally cut her hand. Despite all her hard work, her mother-in-law didn't thank her, but instead scolded her. Yi-joo's mother-in-law criticized the food, claiming it was just a way to appease her. She also remarked that someone like Yi-joo, a young lady marrying into the family, had no respect for her. Yi-joo didn't defend herself, choosing instead to endure the harsh words. She gave her mother-in-law a bank card, hoping to make amends. Though her mother-in-law secretly felt pleased, she showed reluctance on the outside. Then, Yi-joo's mother-in-law insisted that Yi-joo speak highly of Se-hyuk in front of her parents. She wanted Yi-joo's parents to help Se-hyuk get a high position. Yi-joo wanted to ask Se-hyuk's opinion first, so on her way home, she planned to give him the painting. However, Se-hyuk didn't answer her calls. Little did she know, Se-hyuk was at her younger sister's place. Meanwhile, in front of a crowd, Se-hyuk confidently gazed at Yi-joo's younger sister with a passionate look. When Yi-joo arrived home and found no one there, she called her mother's assistant. That's when she learned that the whole family was attending an auction at the gallery. In a hurry to give her mother the gift, Yi-joo rushed to the auction. The assistant casually asked her to pick up some documents from the cabinet. Yi-joo, without suspecting anything, took the painting and the documents. But when she got out of the car, she realized she had left the documents behind. As she was about to go inside, she noticed Se-hyuk's car in the parking lot. She walked over, saw an envelope on the ground, and found Se-hyuk's resignation letter inside. She had never heard him mention quitting his job. Confused, she went inside, her mind full of questions. Inside, Se-hyuk was introducing himself to reporters as the son-in-law of the Han family, but unfortunately, his father-in-law had no intention of acknowledging him. Seeing Se-hyuk treated this way, Yi-joo stepped forward and put her arm around him, confirming that they were husband and wife. This gesture embarrassed her father, who awkwardly patted Se-hyuk's shoulder to show some support. Yi-joo gave the family portrait to her mother and waited for her mother and younger sister's reactions. To her surprise, her younger sister criticized her, accusing her of being too ambitious and wanting to display the painting in the exhibition room for praise. Her mother also criticized her, saying that once a woman married, she should follow her husband and think about being buried in the family tomb. At that moment, a group of wealthy women saw the painting and praised Yi-joo's talent. To save face, Yi-joo's mother hung the painting in the exhibition room. Yi-joo's mother asked her if she had prepared the painting carefully, and Yi-joo nodded, saying she had. Yi-joo knew the painting would be donated to a welfare facility, so she had tried to replicate a famous work to make it look authentic. Hearing this, her mother smiled and encouraged her to replicate it as best as she could. As Yi-joo tried to clean an oil stain on the side of the painting, her younger sister's fiancé, Do-guk, suddenly appeared to evaluate the work. At the same time, Yi-joo's younger sister and Se-hyuk joined them. Yi-joo's younger sister began showing off, pretending to be close to Yi-joo, but then insulted her, saying she lacked aristocratic qualities. She added that if Yi-joo hadn't pursued Se-hyuk first, he would never have married her. Then, Yi-joo's younger sister put her arm around Se-hyuk, claiming they were a better match. Yi-joo felt humiliated, but what hurt more was that Se-hyuk didn't pull away from her younger sister's embrace. Instead, he looked at her affectionately. Feeling upset, Yi-joo went to the bathroom to wash her face and regain composure. When she came out, Do-guk confronted her, asking if she was really this naive or just pretending. Yi-joo didn't want to face the truth, though. She just wanted to keep everyone happy and live a peaceful life. She turned back to the exhibition and saw Se-hyuk laughing and chatting with her younger sister, their closeness evident in the way they stood together. Yi-joo was about to approach them, but was blocked by a rich lady who asked her to introduce a painting. As Yi-joo began to explain the painting, she didn't realize that the rich lady had brought someone with her to secretly examine the work. Soon, the auction began, and the rich lady bought the painting. She then had someone examine it, paying a high price for it. When Yura's mother, Jong-hye, thought she would make a huge profit, the wealthy madam suddenly slapped her, exposing her scheme of selling fake paintings in front of everyone. At that moment, the police arrived to arrest Jong-hye for fraud. In a desperate attempt to escape, Jong-hye's assistant suggested a plan. Jong-hye called Yi-joo and asked her to take the blame. She promised to hire a lawyer to help her, but Yi-joo was left confused and unsure of what to do. Jong-hye's assistant then claimed that Yi-joo was the real culprit behind the forgery, and that the evidence was in Yi-joo's car, with other fake paintings stored in Yi-joo's studio. Yi-joo quickly realized that the documents she had been asked to retrieve were not what she thought, but rather evidence of the forgery. It was clear now that they had planned all along to make Yi-joo the scapegoat. Just as the police were about to arrest Yi-joo, she ran out to find Se-hyuk, only to see him confessing his love to her younger sister, Yura. Yura pretended to be upset and accused Yi-joo of forging the painting and ruining the family. She even tried to shed tears, which made Se-hyuk's heart break. He grabbed Yura's hand and declared his love for her, promising to divorce Yi-joo and marry her. Yura then revealed her true nature, expressing her disdain for Se-hyuk and Yi-joo, which was overheard by Yi-joo. Yura hurriedly left, and Yi-joo confronted Se-hyuk, asking why he had kept his resignation letter a secret. When she opened the envelope, she found a divorce agreement inside. The situation became even more complicated as the police arrived, but Yi-joo didn't want to endure the injustice, so she ran off in anger, driving recklessly. Jong-hye called Yi-joo and demanded that she confess, saying it was time for Yi-joo to pay her back for adopting her when she was at her lowest. Jong-hye shamelessly claimed that they were family, but Yi-joo, in her confusion, didn't see a car in front of her and was involved in an accident. Yi-joo was quickly rushed to the emergency room, where the doctor informed Jong-hye that Yi-joo had multiple fractures and her organs were bleeding heavily. The chances of surgery were slim, and the situation was left to fate. Surprisingly, Jong-hye showed no emotion upon hearing this. After the doctor left, Jong-hye went into Yi-joo's room and unplugged her ventilator, revealing that she had hated Yi-joo from the moment they first met at the orphanage. At that time, Yi-joo was only a child, trying to win Jong-hye's favor, which led to her adoption. Jong-hye had been waiting for years to see when Yi-joo would finally reveal her true ambitions, but Yi-joo had patiently endured all this time. Jong-hye mocked her, saying that they were destined to be together, and advised her not to be so kind in the next life, as it would only bring trouble. Jong-hye instructed her assistant to reconnect the ventilator, but when the doctor arrived to administer emergency treatment, it was too late. Yi-joo, still conscious, prayed for her life, and vowed to take revenge on those who had wronged her if given another chance. Suddenly, Yi-joo was awakened by the sound of an alarm clock. Looking around, she found herself lying in her own bed, back to the day before the wedding dress fitting. She checked her phone to confirm the date, and it was the year before her accident. She couldn't believe it until she tried on the dress, and everything was exactly the same as the year before. Even the injury she had gotten when she scratched her hand was identical. Realizing she had returned to the past, Yi-joo decided to break free from her toxic relationships. She confronted Se-hyuk, took the pen from his pocket, and used it to cut the wedding dress before pressing the bouquet of flowers onto his head. Yi-joo told Se-hyuk that she was going to tell both their families that their marriage was over. She returned home and told Jong-hye that she wanted to cancel the engagement. Se-hyuk chased after her, pleading with her, but Yi-joo exposed his true feelings for Yura. Se-hyuk confessed that he had married Yi-joo for her family's wealth, knowing Yura would never marry someone like him. Yi-joo refused to be swayed by his sweet words and left him. At home, Yi-joo overheard a conversation between Jung-hye and Yura. It turned out that Yura already had someone she liked, Do-guk, the second son of the Taeja group. Yura had always gotten whatever she wanted, and this time, she was confident that she could seduce Do-guk. Yi-joo, determined to get back at Yura, went to her best friend Soo-jin, a journalist and Do-guk's cousin, to discuss her plans. Soo-jin explained that seducing Do-guk would be difficult due to the difference in their family backgrounds. Yi-joo's family ran a loan shark business, and it was thanks to Jung-ye's manipulation that Yura had even met Do-guk. Soo-jin advised Yi-joo to be smart about handling her husband's family, especially since Do-guk had high standards and might not be interested in Yi-joo. Despite the obstacles, Yi-joo refused to give up. She learned that Yura and Do-guk had a date the next afternoon, so she asked Soo-jin to help her find the meeting place. Yi-joo arrived there first and caught Do-guk's attention when he accidentally mentioned her name. She confronted him directly and asked what he thought about marrying her. Do-guk was curious about what advantages Yi-joo had to offer for marriage, stating that he wanted to marry someone better. As he spoke, he pulled out his room card, mentioning that being attractive was also an advantage, which made Yi-joo humiliated. At that moment, Yura appeared to interrupt their meeting. Yi-joo took the room card and went upstairs with Do-guk. When they arrived at the room, Yi-joo felt nervous, but she had to hide it to avoid falling into Do-guk's trap. Upon entering, she realized it was Do-guk's workplace, a perfect setting for a conversation. Do-guk explained that if she showed anxiety when interacting with others, she would be taken advantage of. Before they could dive into the main conversation, Yura kept calling, which caused Yi-joo to decide to spend the night in the room. Do-guk teased Yi-joo, suggesting that if a man and woman were sharing a room, something must have happened. He added that a harmonious marriage was an important aspect of marriage. Do-guk approached Yi-joo, but she remained unafraid, responding that he wasn't her type, but was willing to let him try to seduce her. Do-guk was pleased with her response and was willing to listen to what she had to say. Yi-joo continued, explaining that Do-guk's grandmother wanted him to marry, and after marriage, he could receive her investment, which would help his company go public. Yi-joo offered him information about competing companies and help in return. She also explained that she chose Do-guk because she felt he was her soulmate, who could immediately recognize her worth, and because he was quite handsome. Yi-joo also set a rule that, during their marriage, there would be no physical contact, and they would both remain clear about their assets. After a certain time, they would divorce. Hearing this, Do-guk became intrigued by Yi-joo, as she was starting to seem interesting to him. The two then agreed to cooperate. Yi-joo drank more, excited about the arrangement, and as she reached for a hair tie to tie her hair, Do-guk took it from the table and helped her. Suddenly, Yi-joo remembered that in her past life, there was never a moment in her life when she felt truly happy. This time, she vowed to change things. After a while, Yi-joo fell asleep, and Do-guk supported her as she dozed off in his arms. Unable to control himself, he stroked her hair and cheek before carrying her to bed. The next morning, Yi-joo woke up and saw Do-guk sleeping beside her, which scared her. She quietly slipped away. When she returned home, Jung-hae slapped her and scolded her for being shameless, accusing her of stealing Yura's man. Her father also sided with Yura and suggested Yi-joo marry Se-hyuk instead. Advising her to stop trying to seduce Do-guk, Yi-joo was furious and didn't want to marry someone who didn't love her. Just as she was about to reveal the truth about Se-hyuk's feelings for Yura, Yura spoke up first, crying and accusing Yi-joo of framing her. Yura claimed she had heard the conversation between Yi-joo and Se-hyuk at the bridal shop, and blamed Yi-joo for ruining her reputation. Yi-joo sarcastically commented on Yura's acting skills, prompting Yura to cry even harder. Jung-hee, heartbroken, ordered Yi-joo to be locked in a room. As she looked at the dense symbols on the wall, Yi-joo shed tears, remembering how long she would always lock her away every time she made a mistake. She began to feel that this room was her prison and she couldn't escape. But now that she had returned to life, Yi-joo didn't want to sit idly by and wait to die. She remembered asking Soo-jin to secretly take a photo of her and Do-guk being intimate and post it online, hoping to use public opinion to make Do-guk admit her identity. Unfortunately, Soo-jin informed her that Do-guk's family had already blocked the news. Yi-joo felt disappointed, and as she was thinking of new plans, Jung-hye's assistant brought her some medicine. The assistant accidentally discovered a drawer behind Yi-joo. Panicking, Yi-joo quickly drank the medicine and chased the assistant away. After the assistant left, Yi-joo opened the drawer, vomited up the medicine, and replaced it in the bottle. While tying her hair, she suddenly remembered that Do-guk had tied her hair the previous night and touched her lips. Meanwhile, Do-guk recalled the previous night, feeling moved by Yi-joo. He was angry that Yi-joo had disappeared and her phone was turned off. Determined to announce his intentions to marry her, Do-guk decided to go to his house. When he arrived, he made it clear to his family that he wanted to marry Yi-joo, which shocked everyone. His grandmother thought Do-guk's company was in financial trouble, so he was marrying the daughter of a loan shark. Despite attempts to dissuade him, Do-guk went over to Yi-joo's house and happened to witness Jong-hye taunting Yi-joo. So he pulled her away. He stood firm and asked for Yi-joo's hand in marriage. Yi-joo's father, excited at the idea of having the young master of the Taeja group as a son-in-law, immediately agreed. Yura, however, angrily left. Do-guk took Yi-joo out for a meal. Before leaving, Yi-joo gave Jong-hye an emotionless look, and Jong-hye reluctantly returned Yi-joo's phone. Do-guk could see that Yi-joo wasn't being treated well in her family, so he reassured her that he would protect her. Yi-joo initially thought Do-guk had come to save her to get information, but was surprised when he took her to a high-end restaurant for dinner. Yi-joo wasn't used to the fancy food, so Do-guk bought instant food from a convenience store and shared it with her. Yi-joo, thinking about her family, suddenly broke down in tears. She confided in Do-guk, saying someone had drugged her food, and she always lived in fear, constantly on guard against her family. Yi-joo sobbed, vowing to take revenge on those who had made her life miserable. Do-guk comforted Yi-joo and promised that if revenge was her real goal, he would help her after they married. After saying this, Do-guk picked a yellow flower from the side of the road and made a ring to propose to Yi-joo. He stood up and asked her for a hug, but unexpectedly, Yi-joo stood up and kissed him instead. Do-guk pulled her close, kissing her passionately. Yi-joo did not refuse and responded. She blushed when she saw the engagement ring that Do-guk had made for her. Soojin suddenly called and said that the photo of her and Do-guk kissing yesterday was on the news. Yi-joo quickly checked and saw the perfectly taken photo. She remembered that Do-guk had told her to dress beautifully yesterday, and she immediately understood that Do-guk had arranged for someone to secretly take a photo of their date. Their relationship was now exposed. Yura was furious when she saw the news and asked her mother to help her. Jong-hye deliberately mentioned it in front of her husband. In fact, Do-guk's family didn't agree to this marriage. It was all because Yi-joo and Do-guk had fabricated it. Yi-joo's father wanted to have a son-in-law, who was the young master of the Taeja group, so he quickly confirmed this to Yi-joo, but she denied it. At the same time, she said that she and Do-guk would have a luxurious wedding and invite both families. Yi-joo also mentioned that Yura would have to receive the wedding bouquet. Yura angrily left, and Jong-hye, heartbroken, made things difficult for Yi-joo. Jong-hye said that if Yi-joo wanted to get married, Do-guk's parents had to come and talk about the wedding. Yi-joo calmly nodded in agreement and then went to Do-guk's house. Seeing Do-guk busy in the kitchen, Yi-joo was surprised. She asked if he knew how to cook. Do-guk replied that he had known for a long time. Do-guk was rich, handsome, and intelligent. He had everything when he was born. After being busy for a while, Do-guk made a delicious meal for Yi-joo, but she wasn't in the mood to enjoy it. She wanted to know why he went to such lengths. Do-guk said it was because he liked cooking. Seeing that Do-guk didn't understand her meaning, Yi-joo grew angry. She asked him why he spread the news of their relationship. Do-guk smiled and said he did it because he was afraid Yi-joo might suddenly regret it. After saying that, he took out the marriage contract and asked her to sign it. Yi-joo knew that a year later would be the day she would die, so she only signed a 1-year cooperation contract. At the same time, she asked Do-guk's family to attend the wedding and congratulate them. Although Do-guk wasn't entirely satisfied with the 1-year marriage, he signed it. Now, the two were officially partners. Do-guk suggested that they needed a secret base to discuss strategies, and the location would be his private home. He asked Yi-joo to move to his private home while he would return to his house. After saying that, he immediately took Yi-joo to visit the house. Yi-joo saw the warm bedroom that Do-guk had prepared for her, and the beautiful clothes in the wardrobe, which made her happy. Meanwhile, Yura went to find Se-hyuk's younger sister, Se-hui. Yura advised Se-hui and Se-hyuk's mother to persuade Yi-joo. Yura bought Se-hui a designer bag, and while chatting, they met Do-guk's younger sister, Dona. Yura took the opportunity to badmouth Yi-joo, saying she was a bad person. Not long ago, Yi-joo wanted to marry Se-hyuk, but now she had seduced Do-guk. The main reason was that Yi-joo had mental problems. Dona understood everything and silently watched Yura badmouth Yi-joo. Dona mocked Yura for talking nonsense and said she would determine for herself what kind of person Yi-joo was. After saying that, Dona turned around and left. Yi-joo didn't know anything and was about to go out when she was stopped by Se-hyuk's mother, who who begged her to change her mind and not cancel the engagement. Yi-joo knew that Se-hyuk's mother was only after her family's fortune, so she turned around and left. Unexpectedly, Se-hyuk's mother pulled Yi-joo's hair and lectured her. Yi-joo pushed Se-hyuk's mother down, but Se-hyuk's mother knelt and begged her. Suddenly, Yi-joo realized something was wrong. As she had thought, Se-hui appeared to help her mother and scolded Yi-joo. Se-hui said that a month before the wedding, Yi-joo broke off the engagement with her fiancé and seduced a rich young master. Se-hui's hypocritical performance caused passers-by, who didn't know the truth, to criticize Yi-joo. These cruel words scared Yi-joo, and she turned around and ran away. Little did she know, the whole scene had been secretly filmed. It turned out that everything had been orchestrated by Jong Hae. She was very satisfied with Se-hyuk's mother's acting ability. Jong Hae took a stack of money and gave it to Se-hyuk's mother, making her very happy. Yi-joo ran home, calmed down, and thought about how she would die in a year, and was waiting for that day to come. She wondered if she would die again, or get a new life, but now she was sure that she wouldn't make the same mistakes again. In order to marry Do-guk as soon as possible, Yi-joo went to ask Soo-jin for advice. Soo-jin suggested that Yi-joo should gain the trust of the most powerful woman in Do-guk's family, his mother. After saying that, Soo-jin gave Yi-joo a cooking class membership card. It was said that this cooking school was a gathering place for rich ladies. Do-guk's mother often came here to learn cooking, and there were many rich ladies talking about family matters. Yi-joo thought that if she suddenly appeared at the cooking class, she might surprise Do-guk's mother. As Soo-jin had guessed, in the cooking class, a lady made fun of Do-guk's mother, saying it was a shame for Do-guk to find a woman whose family background was not suitable for him. Do-guk's mother angrily rushed over to beat the lady. At that moment, Yi-joo suddenly appeared and announced that she was the woman who was about to marry Do-guk. She also introduced herself to Do-guk's mother. When the ladies finished studying, Do-guk's mother called Yi-joo over and invited her to have tea. Unexpectedly, Do-guk's mother also took the opportunity to invite Yura. Yura went to the bathroom and reminded Yi-joo to control her expression, saying that, at least in front of Do-guk's mother, she had to pretend that the two sisters were very close. Yi-joo, who had been reborn once, didn't care about Yura. In front of Do-guk's mother, Yi-joo said that the relationship between the two sisters was very bad, which embarrassed Yura. Do-guk's mother didn't care about the sisters' relationship and went straight to the point, asking Yi-joo to withdraw and give Yura a chance. Do-guk's mother said that the adopted daughter of a family of drivers was completely unworthy of Do-guk. Moreover, a month ago, she was still engaged. Yi-joo didn't back down. She thought that Do-guk's mother could understand her, as she was like her, getting married despite her parents' objections. Do-guk's mother was annoyed because every time she spoke, Yi-joo would argue back. Suddenly, Do-guk appeared to protect Yi-joo. His appearance left his mother speechless. Do-guk wanted to take Yi-joo away, but she refused. She told Do-guk's mother that she broke off the engagement because she had been betrayed. She had already made up her mind not to pursue love anymore, but when Do-guk appeared, she felt loved again. She knew that Do-guk would never betray the woman he loved. Even if Do-guk had an affair, he still had a straightforward mother to solve the problem for her. Yi-joo praised Do-guk's mother and him. This had a great effect on Do-guk's mother. Watching Yi-joo leave, Do-guk's mother suddenly felt fond of this straightforward girl and refused the gift Yura had given her. Do-guk took Yi-joo home, and the two discussed how to convince their families. Do-guk suddenly suggested that Yi-joo truly loved him and that they were together because of love. This, he thought, would make their families agree to the marriage. After all, Yi-joo didn't come from a strong family background, and Do-guk's family wouldn't be swayed by the idea of a commercial marriage. Do-guk kept persuading Yi-joo, tricking her into agreeing to play the role of his true love at first. The two practiced how to confess their love. Do-guk sat directly in front of Yi-joo, looking at her affectionately. He then said the words of confession, which made Yi-joo's heart race. She quickly pretended to be at ease, praising Do-guk and saying it was a pity he wasn't a professional actor. Little did she know, Do-guk wasn't acting. He was expressing his true feelings. That night, Do-guk was drunk and slept on the sofa, while Yi-joo had trouble sleeping on the bed. Eventually, she went to the living room and asked Do-guk to move to the bedroom. She accidentally discovered that he was drenched in sweat and having a nightmare. She gently patted his shoulder to comfort him. Later, Do-guk's mother came to visit, and Yi-joo was next to her son. Yi-joo quickly explained that nothing had happened, but to her surprise, Do-guk's mother wasn't angry at all. She even said that she had lived abroad and that she is open-minded. Do-guk's mother called Yi-joo out privately. She agreed to their marriage but had two requests: that Yi-joo keep it a secret from Do-guk. Yi-joo went home to share the good news with her parents. Her father was happy and canceled their weekend gathering plans. Jong Hae and Yura were extremely angry. Jong Hae mocked Yi-joo, telling her not to think she had won, as it was still unclear what Do-guk's parents truly wanted. Seeing Jong Hee's angry eyes, Yi-joo felt extremely satisfied and told her to keep her expression in check, so as not to embarrass the family. Yi-joo's parents went to the meeting place that Do-guk's family had arranged over the weekend. After a long drive, they arrived at a remote location. Jong Hae questioned why Do-guk's family chose such a remote place if they truly wanted to marry Yi-joo. Yi-joo's father was about to reprimand his wife for being impolite when Do-guk's mother interrupted. She introduced herself to Jong Hye while shaking hands with her. During the meeting, Jong Hae deliberately caused trouble. At first, Jong Hae wasn't happy with the simple meeting place, which made Yi-joo embarrassed. He also criticized her for being an adopted daughter, and emphasized that she hadn't achieved much in life, having never sold a painting and not being good at housework. Yi-joo was embarrassed and nervously rubbed her hands together. Do-guk placed his hand over hers, showing that in his heart, Yi-joo was already perfect enough, or else he wouldn't have decided to marry her. Seeing Do-guk's determined attitude, Jong Hye continued to make things difficult for Yi-joo. He asked her if she felt qualified to be the wife of the young master of a rich corporation. Yi-joo smiled and admitted her many shortcomings. She explained that, in a situation like this, she had prepared a gift. Yi-joo took out a painting she had copied, mentioning that Jong Hye did charity work by copying famous paintings around the world and hanging them in welfare centers for those who couldn't visit exhibitions. Yi-joo gave the painting to Do-guk's grandmother, who liked it so much that she had it hung on the wall immediately. This move shocked Jong Hae, whose face turned unnatural. Jong Hae later pulled Yi-joo aside to talk privately. The painting had been sold by Jong Hae to a lady, and Jong Hae didn't understand why it was now in Yi-joo's hands. Yi-joo explained that she had told the lady there was a problem with the painting's circulation and asked for a refund, which the lady did. The painting was returned to Yi-joo along with a certificate of authenticity signed by Jong Hye, proving that the painting was genuine. This certificate was evidence that Jong Hye had sold a fake painting to defraud the lady. Yi-joo used this as leverage, warning Jong Hye not to cause any more trouble. Jong Hye was furious after the meeting. She slapped her assistant, criticizing them for not managing the gallery properly and allowing Yi-joo to take action. Jong Hae ordered the staff to retrieve the sold paintings and refund the buyers, canceling all transaction records to prevent anyone from discovering the fraud. Later, when Jong Hae came home, she saw Yura leaving. From her mother's expression, Yura realized that she couldn't ruin Yi-joo and Do-guk's marriage. Yura sadly went to drink, and Se-hyuk, who was in front of Yura's house, hurriedly followed her. Yura told him that Yi-joo was about to marry Do-guk, and she needed his help to stop it. Se-hyuk, who hated Do-guk, wanted to help, especially since he worked at Do-guk's company. He was angry with Do-guk and talked about his issues with him. Se-hyuk believed that Yi-joo still loved him, and that Do-guk was just a tool she used to make him angry. Even if Yi-joo dated Do-guk, he would forgive her. Do-guk's reaction surprised Se-hyuk. Do-guk loved Yi-joo so much that he accepted being by her side, and even when others spoke her name, he felt disgusted. Today, Yi-joo met with Soo-jin, who asked why Do-guk's mother wanted to meet Yi-joo's family. Yi-joo recalled her agreement with Do-guk's mother. Do-guk's mother had agreed to the marriage under one condition. Yi-joo must make Do-guk return to the Taija group within 6 months. If Yi-joo couldn't do that, she would have to leave Do-guk. Yi-joo agreed immediately. Yi-joo learned about the Taija group from Soo-jin, who explained that Do-guk was initially appointed as the successor by his grandmother. However, due to his brother, Do-guk left to start his own company. When Yi-joo asked more, Soo-jin realized she had said too much and stopped talking. What puzzled Yi-joo was that when she packed her things and moved into Do-guk's house, Se-hyuk showed up and insisted on coming inside. He begged Yi-joo to return to him, even revealing that Do-guk had once wanted to kill someone. Do-guk had pushed his brother off a boat, leaving him disabled. To compensate and hide his past, Do-guk left the Taija group and gave up his position as successor to his brother. Seeing Yi-joo standing there in shock, Se-hyuk walked over, grabbed her hand, and hugged her, pleading for her to come back. Yi-joo calmed herself, pushed Se-hyuk away, and walked into the house. Yura, who had been nearby, took a photo of them hugging, which could shake Yi-joo and Do-guk's relationship. Yi-joo, feeling panicked, immediately called Soo-jin for clarification. Soo-jin confirmed that after the incident, Do-guk's brother had confirmed that Do-guk pushed him, and a witness had also corroborated the story. Since then, Do-guk's family had avoided discussing it, hoping time would erase it. Meanwhile, Yi-joo's grandfather learned that his granddaughter was about to marry Do-guk, so he went to meet Do-guk's grandmother. 30 years ago, the two had a romantic history. Yi-joo's grandfather returned the 1.6 billion interest he had earned from Do-guk's grandmother and asked for her help in supporting his granddaughter's marriage. He felt guilty for not being able to help Yi-joo before, and now wanted to do everything he could to make her wish come true. He knelt and begged Do-guk's grandmother for assistance, but in the process, he accidentally pulled down her pants. This embarrassed Do-guk's grandmother, who was now curious about Yi-joo's character. Later, Yi-joo visited her grandfather, who looked sad. He felt he could never repay the debt he owed Yi-joo. Yi-joo didn't understand his cryptic words. While lost in thought, Yi-joo noticed Jong Hae's assistant outside. She immediately chased after him, asking why he was following her. The assistant, a fickle person, had been observing Yi-joo to see if she could defeat Jong Hae. If he believed Yi-joo could win, he might side with her, making her revenge easier to carry out. Yi-joo was determined to sway him. After visiting her grandfather, Yi-joo went to her cooking class, where she happily baked cakes and chatted with the head chef. Do-guk's mother was unhappy with how Yi-joo was treating her coldly. Do-guk's mother felt it was clear that Yi-joo should have been more eager to please her. Seeing this, Do-guk's mother took the initiative to speak. When she saw Yi-joo's burnt cake, she suggested cutting off the burnt parts and repackaging it as a gift for her son. Just as Yi-joo was wrapping the cake, Do-guk, hungry, came in to eat. He saw the cake on the table and thought it was her artwork. Yi-joo explained it was just a cake, but when he tried it, he nearly broke his teeth due to how dry and hard it was. Yi-joo sighed and was about to cook him instant noodles, but couldn't reach the noodles on the top shelf. Do-guk suddenly came over to help, making Yi-joo's heart race. He made the noodles himself, and when placed on the table, Yi-joo finally calmed down. However, thinking about Do-guk's past with his brother, she stayed cold and kept a distance, remembering that their marriage was only a contract. Do-guk suddenly sat up straight and seriously asked what he could do if he truly wanted to marry her. But Yi-joo immediately rejected him. She thought that she only had a year to live and no longer had time for love. She sighed and sent Do-guk away, only to receive a call from Do-guk's brother asking to meet her. She agreed. Do-guk, rejected by Yi-joo, got drunk at a bar. Yura showed up, placing a hotel room key in front of him, claiming she understood Do-guk better than Yi-joo. Yura then showed him a photo of Se-hyuk and Yi-joo hugging, suggesting that Yi-joo often sneaked into Se-hyuk's house. Do-guk immediately recognized it as Yura's scheme and guessed she was doing this out of jealousy. He asked her to stop and made it clear he had no interest in playing this game. After leaving, Yura was furious and vented to Jong Hae, who cursed both Do-guk and Yi-joo. Jong Hae then contacted her assistant to find out who might have a grudge against Do-guk. Later, Do-guk's brother, Jong-uk, called Do-guk to inform him that he would tell Yi-joo about Do-guk's true nature. Do-guk immediately rushed to stop Yi-joo from meeting his brother. He found her at the beach, the same place where Jong-uk had been disabled years ago. Facing the sea, Do-guk became overwhelmed by the memories of that day. As he knelt, Yi-joo arrived, but before she could reach him, Do-guk collapsed into her arms. This was seen by Jong-uk. Yi-joo quickly took Do-guk to the hospital. After registering, she returned to his room, only to find he had disappeared. She rushed to search for him and almost got hit by a wheelchair. Fortunately, Do-guk appeared just in time and pulled her into his arms, making her heart race. After he recovered, they went home, but before they could be comfortable, a strange woman appeared at the door. She claimed to be Do-guk's friend and rushed into the house, while Yi-joo, who had been cooking porridge, looked inside anxiously. Not long after, the woman walked out of the room and introduced herself to Yi-joo as Do-guk's psychiatrist. Do-guk had been suffering from severe panic disorder. Seeing Yi-joo's confused expression, the doctor joked that she was trying to trick Yi-joo into marrying him. Doguk immediately chased the doctor out, then reassured Yi-joo that he could control his illness as long as he ignored his brother's words in the future. The most important thing now was their wedding. Yi-joo noticed that Doguk seemed to want to say something, but stopped, so she remained quiet. She left with a complicated feeling. As soon as Yi-joo left the house, Doguk's grandmother called to make an appointment with her. Doguk's grandmother wanted to see what kind of person Yi-joo was. She told Yi-joo that her father had visited her and asked for help to speak to the head of the Financial Supervision Commission. He wanted approval to buy the savings bank. Doguk's grandmother asked Yi-joo for her opinion, and she firmly told her to handle things transparently. Yi-joo knew that Doguk's grandmother had struggled to found the Taeja group, especially in a time when women were expected to only do housework. Yi-joo didn't want her hard-earned fortune to be affected, and when she showed consideration for others, Doguk's grandmother was pleased. When they got home, Doguk's grandmother took the initiative to bring up the idea of marriage. Doguk's mother also wanted him to return to the group as soon as possible, so she agreed with Doguk's grandmother. However, Jong-uk scolded Doguk for being too hasty, warning that others might think something was going on if they heard about it. Jong-uk hinted that Yi-joo might be pregnant before marriage, which upset Doguk greatly. He angrily said that his brother was being impolite. After chasing Jong-uk away, Doguk's family quickly moved forward with wedding plans, and they went to Yi-joo's house to invite her family. Her father was happy, but Yura, who was nearby, laughed hysterically. Her father lost all face and told his wife to take Yura on a blind date. Yura stood up, returned the invitation card to Yi-joo, and left the table. Her father was furious with Yura for making him lose face in front of others, scolding his wife for not being able to manage the company or raise their daughter properly. Jong-hye suppressed her anger and suggested that if the savings bank acquisition went well, she would ask her husband to make her the representative director and appoint Yura as the head of the exhibition room. Her husband suggested that the position could be given to Yi-joo instead. Jong-hye became extremely angry, realizing that her husband was showing off his power, so she reluctantly agreed to take Yura on a blind date. This pleased Yi-joo's father, who smiled. That night, he took his usual medicine. Jong-hye warned with a sinister look that his medicine might need to be changed. The next day, Doguk took Yi-joo to try on wedding dresses. Surprisingly, the store employee thought Yi-joo's fiancé was still Se-hyuk and sent him an invitation. When Se-hyuk arrived, he saw Yi-joo trying on a wedding dress. She looked stunning, but her expression seemed off. The designer, noticing this, quickly offered guidance. Se-hyuk rushed in and mocked Yi-joo, saying that when they were preparing for their wedding, she was emotional, but now she looked depressed, as though she'd been sold to someone else. Se-hyuk continued mocking her, while Jong-uk was also not optimistic about Doguk and Yi-joo's marriage. Jong-hye, knowing this, offered to cooperate with him. She showed him a photo of Doguk's grandmother and Yi-joo's grandfather meeting, where Yi-joo's grandfather had handed over 1.6 billion in cash. Jong-hye also showed him a transaction statement proving that Yi-joo's grandfather had spent a lot of money buying a famous painting as a gift for Doguk's grandmother. Jong-hye reminded Jong-uk that Yi-joo's grandfather, driven by greed, had set his sights on the Taeja group. If he wanted to protect it, he needed to cooperate with her. Without waiting for a response, Jong-hye stood up and left to take Yura on a blind date. Yura wore leather clothes and deliberately acted like a spoiled, playful girl. She rudely spoke to the other party's mother and purposely mentioned that her son had gone to a hotel with 2 other people 2 days ago. The man, angered, was about to confront Yura, but Jong-uk stopped him, using a stick to teach the man a lesson. Yura, observing Jong-uk's calm demeanor, became more interested in him. Meanwhile, Jong-uk had come to see Yi-joo. He asked her why she wanted to marry Doguk, knowing that her grandfather had bribed Doguk's grandmother with a large sum of money. Before Yi-joo could ask more, Doguk arrived and interrupted. Doguk told Jong-uk to stay away from Yi-joo, or he would make him regret it. Jong-uk provocatively asked if Doguk was going to push him down like before. Doguk angrily pushed Jong-uk down, shouting at him. Yura, watching from above, saw this scene and plotted her revenge on Yi-joo. Later, Yura asked Jong-hye to arrange another blind date with Jong-uk. Meanwhile, Doguk and Yi-joo argued about what had happened that day. Doguk blamed Yi-joo for agreeing with him, but secretly meeting with Jong-uk. Yi-joo, feeling sad, just wanted to help Doguk overcome his panic disorder. Seeing her concern for him, Do-guk was touched and pulled her aside. He asked if she was ready to face the consequences, as their relationship would no longer be just business, but a real marriage. Yi-joo hesitated, stepping back in silence. Do-guk let go of her hand, understanding that she had chosen to give up. Yi-joo sadly watched him walk away. Just then, Do-guk's grandmother called. She took Yi-joo to see a fortune teller who had helped many businessmen, knowing all the secrets of powerful families. Do-guk's grandmother wanted to know why Yi-joo's grandfather had cared so much about his adopted granddaughter. The fortune teller recalled an event from 25 years ago and began telling a story. Years ago, a woman who was 10 months pregnant was forced to her death by her grandfather, who was a loan shark. Filled with guilt, Yuji's grandfather attended the funeral to return the interest to the woman's husband. The angry husband beat Yuji's grandfather, accusing him of causing the death of his wife and unborn child. After the funeral, Yuji's grandfather sought advice from a fortune teller to figure out how to lessen the resentment of the woman and her unborn child. The fortune teller told him to adopt a homeless girl and raise her until she grew up, and that happiness would return once the girl was grown. The fortune teller then mentioned that, in her opinion, Yuji was neither alive nor dead. After hearing the story, Yuji thanked Do-guk's grandmother for bringing her to the fortune teller. Do-guk's grandmother told Yuji not to call her president, but to call her grandma. Yuji smiled and agreed, knowing that Do-guk's grandmother had accepted her. Afterward, Yuji visited her grandfather, advising him not to feel indebted to her, as she could never replace a deceased child. Her grandfather didn't respond, but showed her a photo of her and her biological mother. Looking at the photo, Yuji couldn't recognize her mother's face. Her grandfather pointed out that she looked a lot like her father when she was young. Yuji was shocked and wondered if she was her father's illegitimate child. Before she could process this, Jong Hye suddenly entered the room. Yuji quickly hid in the closet. Jong Hye threatened her grandfather, telling him not to think about marrying Yuji to Do-guk and living off the Tasha group. Jong Hye then expressed his belief that the older brother, who inherited the group, had a bigger chance of success compared to the younger brother, who went out to start his own business. Jong Hye pulled Yuji's grandfather to her side, and as they spoke, she noticed the photo and a white skirt in the closet. Jong Hye was about to approach when Yuji's grandfather stopped her, quickly agreeing to transfer all his shares to Yura. Jong Hye smiled, satisfied, and deliberately reminded Yuji's grandfather not to tell Yuji about her true identity. Yuji was left in shock when she learned the truth. Meanwhile, Do-guk came to Yuji's room and accidentally found her sketchbook. The last page depicted the scene of her car accident, with a drawing of the mysterious man who hit her. Do-guk suddenly experienced a severe headache as the image of the car accident filled his mind. Soon after, the wedding day arrived. Jong Hye told Yuji that her father was sick and couldn't attend, advising her not to expect him to walk her down the aisle. Facing her stepmother's sarcasm, Yuji grabbed a vase, preparing to attack Jong Hye, but Do-guk stopped her. Do-guk saw the anger in her eyes and advised her to calm down, as it was their special day. He told her to appear her most beautiful and happiest in front of everyone so they could admire her. Do-guk was willing to give up everything for Yuji's smile. Yuji, wanting to destroy her parents' lives, asked Do-guk for help. He was more than willing, and when he put the ring on her finger, he would happily to assist her in getting revenge. After calming down, Yuji took Do-guk's hand and entered the wedding hall. They exchanged vows and rings, followed by a bow to thank their parents. Jong Hye, however, didn't miss any chance to attack Yuji. She asked Yuji if she was disappointed that her father didn't attend, but Yuji hugged her stepmother, knowing she had intentionally kept her father away to make her regret it for the rest of her life. She secretly vowed to make Jong's life miserable. Next came the photo session. Yura wore a white dress resembling a wedding dress and stood beside Yuji, silently taking photos of the two sisters and posting them on social media. Friends quickly commented that Yura looked more beautiful than her sister. Yuji, however, had no time to engage with Yura. She was focused on enjoying her new life with Do-guk. After the wedding, the couple went to their honeymoon home, each sleeping in their own room. Early the next morning, Yuji quietly left without saying a word, leaving a note on the refrigerator saying she was going to Gangwon for a few days. Do-guk entered her room and found it empty, chuckling to himself, thinking that Yuji had gone on her honeymoon alone. As he turned to leave, he noticed the notebook on the table with Yuji's destination written in it. Yuji, meanwhile, went to the beach alone. Watching couples around her, she thought about Do-guk's words that he would always be by her side, enduring everything with her. Just as she wondered how one person could stay with another forever, Do-guk appeared before her. The two sat on the beach, and Do-guk shared a story from their childhood. He told her about the time when he and Jong-wook were young and on a cruise with their father. Do-guk had played around and scared Jong-wook, causing him to drop his phone into the sea, the only thing Jong-wook's mother had left him. Jong-wook ordered Do-guk to jump into the water to retrieve the phone, but Do-guk refused. In the scuffle, Do-guk accidentally pushed Jong-wook into the sea, injuring his leg and causing a nerve injury. From then on, Jong-wook would intentionally bring up the incident, which made Do-guk feel guilty and eventually leaving home to start his own company. After telling the story, Do-guk grabbed Yuji's hand, missing her, and ignoring everything to be with her. The two returned to their room, where Yuji nervously drank water before heading to the shower. She anxiously eyed the transparent bathroom. She pushed Do-guk onto the bed and covered his face with a blanket, forbidding him from peeking. Do-guk stood up, picked up the remote control beside him, and pressed a button, turning the transparent glass into frosted glass. He began undressing to take a bath, placing the remote next to Yi-joo, inviting her to watch any time. After finishing his bath, Do-guk found that Yi-joo had already laid out a mattress for him. Do-guk gently suggested Yi-joo take a bath, but she remained still, pretending to sleep. He realized she was faking it, so he lay on the floor instead. Only then did Yi-joo open her eyes. Sharing a room with Do-guk made her heart race, and she felt so nervous that she could hardly breathe. The next day, Yi-joo took Do-guk to the beach again, hoping to help him overcome his fear of the ocean. Do-guk followed her, taking off his shoes and walking along the shore. Yi-joo spread her arms to feel the sea breeze, and they had fun on the beach. By the end of the day, Do-guk was no longer afraid of the ocean and ran through the water with joy. As night came, it was time for bed. Do-guk wanted to sleep beside Yi-joo and swore that he would only hold her hand, nothing more. He attempted to share the bed with her, teasing her along the way. Yi-joo, worried that she might lose control, told him to sleep on the floor to prove she wasn't like that. Eventually, she agreed to let him sleep on the bed, rolling up a blanket to create a dividing line. She instructed Do-guk not to cross it. Do-guk was confused about why Yi-joo rejected him like that. Despite her smiles, they always seemed to carry sadness and resentment. As a pessimist, she feared that she would never find love again. Yi-joo told him that she was the biological daughter of the person she thought was her adoptive father. Do-guk listened to her, comforting her as she cried. Seeing his gentle nature, Yi-joo kissed him, but because of her past, she feared that she wouldn't be able to reciprocate his feelings. Do-guk assured her that it was okay. He was willing to let her take her time and told her that whoever loved more was the weaker one. He advised her to take full advantage of his love, as he was willing to let her do so. Touched, Yi-joo caressed his cheek and the two kissed, sharing a sweet night together. The next day they returned home, and Yi-joo immediately sought out her grandfather to learn more about the past. Her grandfather had opposed Yi-joo's biological mother's relationship with his son. He had given Yi-joo's mother some money and chased her away. Later, when Yi-joo's mother came back with Yi-joo, her mother wanted Yi-joo to be officially acknowledged as part of the family, but her grandfather refused. Not long after, he heard of a fire that killed both Yi-joo's mother and Yi-joo herself. Grief-stricken, he sought advice from a fortune teller, who revealed that his granddaughter was still alive. Grandpa then had a DNA test done, confirming Yi-joo's survival. However, he had no idea that Jong-hae had already learned about Yi-joo's true identity. Before leaving, Yi-joo asked her grandfather not to tell her father about her past, as she had her own plans. That evening, Do-guk and Yi-joo went to her house for dinner. At the table, Yi-joo proposed managing the gallery, but Yura objected, claiming that it belonged to her. Yi-joo presented evidence of her ability, including an article written by Sujin about her. Yi-joo learned from a teacher who had bought her paintings that they were being sold in America. The teacher's friend had posted a picture on social media, and the painting looked strikingly similar to Yi-joo's style, and even had her signature. Yi-joo realized that Jong-hae had secretly sold her paintings abroad. Taking advantage of this, Yi-joo asked Sujin to post an article revealing that a Korean artist, Yi-joo, was the most popular in America. This helped solidify her popularity, and the paintings were sold with a 55% division of earnings. Yi-joo reminded Jong-hae to transfer her share of the remuneration. When Yura saw her mother unintentionally helping Yi-joo, she became furious and decided to marry Do-guk's brother to teach Yi-joo a lesson. Yura was determined to achieve her goals, even if it meant marrying Jong-uk despite his disability. She secretly seduced Se-hyuk, drinking heavily at the bar and calling him to take her home. Se-hyuk rushed over and witnessed Yura being molested by another man. He confronted the man, and Yura aggressively struck him with a wine bottle. The two then held hands and ran to hide in Se-hyuk's car. Se-hyuk's heart raced as he held Yura's hand, and they kissed passionately. Se-hyuk thought they would officially date afterward, but Yura had no intentions of doing so. She didn't clearly express her feelings, choosing instead to manipulate Se-hyuk. The next day, Do-guk and Yi-joo went to Do-guk's house for dinner. When Yi-joo entered, Do-guk's mother warmly embraced her, feeling sympathy for her lack of parental love. Do-guk's mother had read the article by Soo-jin and confirmed that Yi-joo was not wrong. Jong-hye had secretly sold her paintings without her knowledge. Soo-jin also recalled how Yi-joo had always been there for her in high school, encouraging her to persevere. Soo-jin never forgot Yi-joo's kindness. Suddenly, Jong-uk entered with Yura and announced they were dating, with marriage as the goal. Jong-uk's business had been facing financial troubles, and Yura needed to marry him for her own gain. The two were using each other. Do-guk's family was shocked to hear about this, especially since Jong-uk had fallen for Ura despite her imperfect body. Jong-uk even blamed Do-guk for his miserable life. Do-guk mocked him, pointing out that it was his fault from the start. As Jong-uk tried to lash out at Do-guk, his grandmother scolded him. The family reunion ended on a sour note. Yura was furious because Jong-uk had lost face in front of the elders. She demanded that Jong-uk quickly convince his parents to approve of their marriage. Jong-uk told Yura that this was the price she had to pay for wanting to marry the crown prince of the TJA group. Yura, enraged, vented her frustration by beating her bag relentlessly. Meanwhile, Yi-joo had already begun her revenge plan. She started by taking the gallery's most valuable artwork, pretending it was to help increase revenue, then went to her father and casually mentioned that Yura wanted to marry Jong-uk, highlighting his bad reputation. She asked her father to prevent the marriage, then used the excuse of plucking his gray hairs to secretly collect some of his hair for a DNA test. That evening, Yi-joo's father scolded his wife and Yura for making him lose face. He warned that if the negative details about Jong-uk and Yura were exposed, it would hurt the company's image. He was so upset that he rushed to see Yi-joo's grandfather, determined to get the shares promised to Yura as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, when Jong-uk arrived at the hospital, he learned that Yi-joo's grandfather had already left, leaving a message asking for help with discharge procedures. Furious, Jong-uk sought out Yi-joo's grandfather and visited a fortune teller, offering a large sum of money. The fortune teller confirmed she hadn't met Yi-joo's grandfather, but hinted that Yi-joo's grandmother had brought her there. Upon hearing this, Jong-uk panicked. He then realized that the handwriting on a note left by Yi-joo's grandfather matched Yi-joo's perfectly, sending him into a frenzy. At that moment, Yi-joo's grandfather was at a new hospital, preparing to transfer all shares to Yi-joo when the stock price dropped. On the other side, Yi-joo's assistant met with her, warning her that Jong-uk had begun to suspect her and was secretly working with her grandfather. The assistant also had information on a nanny Yi-joo had previously investigated. He revealed that finding someone who had received orders from Jong-uk to give Yi-joo medicine would help defeat him. Yi-joo was grateful and gave the assistant a masterpiece painting as thanks, touching him deeply. Meanwhile, Yura had been scheming to convince Do-guk's family, so she turned to Se-hyuk for help, hoping he could find Yi-joo's weakness to exploit. Se-hyuk, however, continued to support Yi-joo, making Yura angry. She scolded him for still caring about his ex-fiancée, insisting that she was the one who had been harmed. Se-hyuk reluctantly went to Yi-joo's house to gather information. By chance, he met Do-guk's secretary, who was there to pick something up for Do-guk. Se-hyuk sneaked into Yi-joo's room and accidentally discovered some documents in an open nightstand. That evening, Yi-joo returned home, tired from her day. Do-guk had prepared a delicious meal for her, and the two enjoyed a warm, sweet moment. Yi-joo brought up Jong-uk, knowing she would have to confront him eventually. Do-guk, worried about her getting hurt, was reassured when Yi-joo smiled gently. Since marrying him, she no longer feared anything, knowing she had a safe haven with him. She then asked if he would be willing to return to the TJA group to confront Jong Uk. After a brief pause, Do-guk agreed. He was fully committed to protecting their home, no matter what it took. The following day, Yi-joo went to Do-guk's company to wait for him after work. To her surprise, she ran into Se-hyuk, who sadly asked if she was doing well. Se-hyuk questioned whether she truly loved Do-guk, which left Yi-joo unsure of how to respond. She loved him deeply but didn't want to share her feelings with someone not involved. Just then, Do-guk arrived and wrapped his arm around Yi-joo, warning Se-hyuk not to approach his wife again, or there would be consequences. After the exchange, Do-guk led Yi-joo away. Se-hyuk watched them walk off together, his expression thoughtful, before pulling out the documents. Later, Do-guk and Yi-joo returned home to a tense dinner. As soon as they entered, the whole family was waiting. Jong-uk smirked at Do-guk, and Do-guk's mother presented a marriage contract between Yi-joo and Do-guk. Furious, Do-guk's mother confronted Yura and Jong-uk for stirring trouble. They mocked the couple, claiming they had been deceiving everyone by pretending to love each other. Jong-uk seized the moment to accuse Do-guk of only marrying Yi-joo to gain his grandmother's trust and secure investment. This revelation angered Do-guk's mother, and his grandmother, who had overheard the conversation, felt unwell and had to retire to her room. Do-guk explained to his father that their marriage, which had begun in deception, had grown into genuine love over time. Jong-uk laughed mockingly, showing contempt for their relationship. Do-guk's father, disappointed, chose not to engage further. Jong-uk, standing nearby, continued to mock Do-guk, which prompted Do-guk to grab his collar and angrily scold him for intruding into someone else's home to steal things. Jong-uk retorted that it was all Do-guk's fault for deceiving his parents. The two continued to argue, but Do-guk's mother intervened, chasing them away. The argument woke Grandma, who seemed to have already seen through the truth. While Do-guk's deception had hurt the family, Jong-uk's motives were just as selfish, as he was trying to manipulate the situation for his own gain. What hurt Grandma more than anything was the constant conflict between the two brothers. Yura saw this as an opportunity to strike back and made a deal with Se-hyuk's sister to kick Yi-joo out of Do-guk's house. Shortly after, Se-hyuk's sister posted damaging news about Yi-joo, claiming that her private life was chaotic and that she couldn't live without a man. The post included details about how Yi-joo abandoned her fiancé to marry another man, and even posted a video showing her mother kneeling, begging her to stay, only to be pushed away. The moment the post went live, the comments flooded in, criticizing Yi-joo. Se-hyuk read the post and suspected his sister was behind it. He ordered her to take it down immediately, but she ignored him, enjoying the reward that Yura had given her. Do-guk also saw the post, but couldn't reach Yi-joo at the time. Jong Hae's assistant called Do-guk to share some confidential information. Yi-joo was attending a cooking class and wanted to use the opportunity to explain things to her mother-in-law. There, the two women were at odds, and one of the other ladies suggested that divorce wasn't a big deal these days, even offering to introduce girls to Do-guk. This upset Do-guk's mother, and a heated argument broke out. The lady grabbed Do-guk's mother's shirt, and in defense, Yi-joo immediately started recording the altercation. The lady lashed out at Yi-joo, calling her an adopted child, and slapped her. But Yi-joo wasn't intimidated. She slapped the lady back without hesitation. The cooking teacher intervened and scolded the lady, who stormed off angrily, removing her apron. Yi-joo then demanded an apology from the lady, or she wouldn't let it go. Once things calmed down, Yi-joo and her mother-in-law sat down to talk. Her mother-in-law, heartbroken, admitted she had grown fond of Yi-joo over time, but felt betrayed after realizing she'd been deceived. Yi-joo was about to respond when Do-guk arrived with a video of Se-hyuk's mother kneeling before him. Do-guk revealed that Jong Hae had ordered Se-hyuk's mother to kneel and filmed it. He also uncovered that the video had been edited by Yura and Se-hyuk before being posted online. Furthermore, Do-guk learned that when Yi-joo was young, someone had been secretly drugging her food, which caused her to faint, leading her to only trust food that she prepared herself. Do-guk's mother was horrified, shocked that someone so close to Yi-joo could be so cruel. Do-guk, desperate, knelt and begged his mother to help him. This was the second time in his life he had begged her. After hearing his plea, Do-guk's mother's expression softened, and she decided to go see Jong Hae. Jong Hae, thinking that his plan to have Yi-joo kicked out of her husband's house would succeed, pretended to apologize. However, Do-guk's mother exposed her true feelings, revealing that she had no intention of allowing Yi-joo to leave. Jong Hae, stunned, couldn't believe it. Do-guk's mother, although angry at being deceived, didn't want to let someone as petty as Jong Hae triumph. Later, when the two brothers went home for dinner, Jong Woo-ki tried to bring up an old incident where he fell into the sea from a boat 20 years ago. Do-guk had grown tired of his brother using this incident for sympathy, so he pulled out his phone and revealed a video of that day, clearly showing that it wasn't an accident. In the video, a group of tourists had recorded the incident. Do-guk pleaded with his mother to go public with the truth to clear things up. But his mother remained silent, unwilling to speak up for Do-guk, and instead protected her illegitimate son, Jong-uk. Do-guk then asked Jong-uk to explain what really happened, and the truth came out. It was Jong-uk who had tried to push Do-guk off the boat. When Jong-uk could no longer deny it, he tried to justify himself by saying he was young at the time and panicked, causing his memory to become confused. Grandma, who had been listening, stepped in to stop the argument. She grabbed Do-guk's phone and threw it on the floor, deciding that the brothers should settle things themselves. She summoned them to her room and announced that the winner would be the one she would choose to succeed her. Do-guk, ready to take the challenge, prepared to return to the company to compete with his brother. Jong-uk, however, planned to tarnish Do-guk's image by colluding with Yura's mother, preventing Do-guk from winning. After leaving Grandma's house, Do-guk bought food and wanted to cook for Yi-joo. As he hugged her, he felt that sharing a meal with the woman he loved was the happiest thing. He felt sorry for her. She had suffered at Jong Hyeo's house and had to endure public ridicule after marrying him. Do-guk promised not to let anyone who had hurt Yi-joo go unpunished. He called Si-hyuk and threatened to expose the video of Si-hyuk sneaking into his house, which had been filmed by someone else. He also knew about Si-hyuk's involvement in posting the scandal online, which was a legal offense. Meanwhile, the article about Yi-joo continued to gain attention, and the ladies in the cooking class voiced their dissatisfaction with her. But this time, Yi-joo didn't let their words affect her. The teacher comforted Yi-joo and cooked a delicious meal for her, which made Yi-joo feel amazing. She had always been wary of eating food prepared by others, but she ate the teacher's food without hesitation. The teacher seemed to like Yi-joo a lot and wanted to be friends with her, so they chatted while eating. After the meal, they cleaned up together, and Yi-joo noticed the burn on the teacher's arm. The teacher openly admitted that she had been in a fire, which made her afraid of getting close to fire. She had overcome her fear to become a cooking teacher. Yi-joo visited the grandmother and cooked for her. She told her that food and cooking was not her source of joy, but rather a survival instinct for her, because she had been poisoned before. However, after meeting Do-guk, she began to change her perspective and wanted to cook delicious meals for him. When her grandmother asked if she liked Do-guk, Yi-joo immediately affirmed that she did. After sending Yi-joo off, her grandmother remembered what Do-guk had said. He wanted to keep Yi-joo by his side with a contract. Yi-joo had given him a sense of belonging, and the grandmother, seeing how deeply Do-guk cared for her, agreed to let them lie to their families. On the way back, Yi-joo received a call from Jong Hye's assistant, who had located the nanny. Yi-joo eagerly followed the assistant to meet the nanny. When they met, the nanny explained that many years ago, after Jong Hye came home angrily, Yi-joo passed out after dinner. A doctor later confirmed that her food had been poisoned, and although Jong Hye had blamed the nanny, she was wrongfully accused. The nanny, upset, revealed that she had been kicked out but secretly returned at night, overhearing Jong Hye's cruel words, and discovering that he had brought other men into the house. After their meeting, Yi-joo went to speak with her grandfather about transferring the company's shares. He had been planning this for a long time and intended to wait for bad news about the company before doing so. While they spoke, her grandfather showed her an old photo album which contained an article about a fire where the culprit was cleared of suspicion. Yi-joo barely paid attention to this, focusing instead on the company's stocks. Elsewhere, Se-hyuk visited Do-guk, asking him to delete the article about Yi-joo. However, Do-guk wasn't satisfied and instructed Si-hyuk to gather evidence proving that Yura was the mastermind behind the situation. Si-hyuk, determined to protect Yura, even if it meant quitting his job, insisted that he loved her. Do-guk sarcastically responded that the woman Se-hyuk loved had another man, Jong Uk. Meanwhile, Jong Uk received bad news about the group's cement supplier, who had altered the mix ratio, making some substandard concrete difficult to meet the construction schedule. Fearing the group might investigate his past discounts, Jong Uk quickly instructed his subordinates to fix the issue. He later dined with Yura, acting very intimately, a scene that Se-hyuk witnessed while following Yura. This enraged him. As Yura continued her affair with Jong-uk, Se-hyuk angrily confronted her and demanded her help. Yura revealed her true nature, distancing herself from the wrongdoing, which she claimed had nothing to do with her. Se-hyuk, extremely angry, went to Yi-joo and kneeled in front of her, apologizing for his past actions. He admitted that he shouldn't have married her just to get closer to Yura, which led to many irreparable mistakes. Yi-joo's eyes welled up as she asked Se-hyuk to make amends for his sins. The Taija Group's board of directors convened, with many proposing that Do-guk take the position of vice president and head of the Environmental Protection Committee. Jong Uk used this opportunity to cause trouble, criticizing Do-guk for being unworthy due to the media uproar caused by Yi-joo's story. Do-guk, however, remained calm and explained that public opinion had shifted in his favor. He revealed that it was Se-hyuk who, under Yura's guidance, had fabricated the media post. Do-guk provided a recording of the conversation, which caused an uproar at the meeting, as everyone debated who Yi-joo's younger sister was. Do-guk then announced that the younger sister was Yuma, which shocked everyone. But Do-guk wasn't finished. He presented online comments accusing Taija Group of violating construction time and forcing workers to work late into the night during heavy rain. He warned Jong Uk that instead of focusing on other people's wives, he should focus on doing his job properly. With no retort, Jong Uk could only endure the public backlash, which turned Yura into the target of criticism. Jong Hae comforted Yura, telling her to follow his advice so she could get through the crisis safely. After their conversation, Yi-joo brought her mother-in-law to the house. The mother-in-law scolded Yura for her actions, but Yura quickly pretended to be weak and begged for forgiveness, explaining that she had acted out of resentment because Yi-joo had taken Do-guk away from her, and her marriage with Jong Uk had fallen apart. She promised to give up her gallery to follow Yi-joo's wishes. Jong Hae also stood up, apologizing to Yi-joo and deliberately mentioning how Yi-joo hadn't helped her father acquire the savings bank. Just then, Yi-joo's father's secretary arrived to report that the company, being a credit company, had failed to acquire the bank. Her father was furious, nearly fainting. Yura and Jong Hae's actions upset Yi-joo deeply. Seeing her father in distress, Yi-joo decided to leave the company with her mother-in-law. Meanwhile, Jong Hae continued to manipulate his husband, giving him the medicine he had prepared, blaming Yi-joo for transferring her grandfather to another hospital. Moreover, Yi-joo did not tell them where the new hospital was. Yi-joo secretly conspired with her grandfather and was determined to take control of the company from her father. Yi-joo's father was extremely angry and threw the medicine he was holding down, beginning to suspect Yi-joo. Jong Hae casually threw the medicine into the trash as if nothing had happened. She had been granted permission by her husband to use his name to consult a lawyer and gain custody of Yi-joo's grandfather. Furthermore, she also obtained a certificate of dementia for him. Since Yi-joo's grandfather now had no civil capacity, he couldn't transfer the shares for the time being. Yi-joo's father, deeply grateful to his wife, agreed to temporarily hand over the management rights to her until the lawyer arrived. Since the shares couldn't be transferred yet, her grandfather apologized to Yi-joo. He had been thinking a lot recently and felt uneasy about what Jong Hae had said to him years ago. It seemed that Jong Hae knew Yi-joo was her husband's biological daughter. Yi-joo's expression suddenly changed. She pulled out a newspaper from the album, noticing the name of a suspect in the arson case. She asked the nanny about the man who had come to visit Jong Hae. Upon recognizing the name, which was the same as the one in the newspaper, Yi-joo trembled and almost dropped the photo album. It turned out that the mastermind behind the arson was Jong Hae. Jong Hae had ordered her boyfriend, Dong-soo, to set fire to Yi-joo's biological mother. Yi-joo was so shocked that she fainted. When Yi-joo woke up, she saw Do-guk beside her and couldn't help but cry. She didn't understand why her fate was so tragic. Jong Hae felt that killing Yi-joo still hadn't calmed her anger, and she was determined to torment Yi-joo day after day. Do-guk felt heartbroken for her and embraced her as she cried uncontrollably. Jong hated Yi-joo so much that as long as Yi-joo was alive, she felt guilty. Jong Hye had believed Yi-joo was pretending to be innocent, as if she had no ambition like her biological mother, but secretly wanted everything. Do-guk stayed by Yi-joo's side all night, never sleeping. After reflecting on it, he wanted Yi-joo to tell her father the truth. Clearly, someone as kind as her had done nothing wrong, so why should she silently endure everything? Yi-joo had always feared that her father's response would disappoint her. However, with Do-guk's encouragement, Yi-joo went to see her father. She directly exposed Jong Hye's evil nature, revealing that Jong Hye had always plotted to usurp his position. When her father was sick, Jong Hye took control of the company. Yi-joo's father couldn't believe that Yi-joo hated Jong Hye so much. Yi-joo didn't hesitate. She presented a DNA test, confirming that she was his biological daughter. Seeing her father's disbelief, Yi-joo became furious. She grabbed the medicine beside her and told her father it was a nerve and appetite suppressant, exactly like the one Jong Hye had given her. She leaned in close to his face and demanded he see for himself. Yi-joo's father then saw how much Yi-joo resembled his ex-lover, and it was suddenly hard for him to believe. Without saying much more, Yi-joo handed him a strand of her hair and told him to check for himself. Before the test results came back, Yi-joo's father was sent home to rest by Jong Hye. Jong Hye smiled as she watched her husband sleeping. She hugged Yura and sighed, relieved that mother and daughter would no longer be looked down upon by others. Then she handed over the management of the exhibition hall to Yura. In Jong Hye's heart, Yura was her weakness, and if she wanted to defeat Yi-joo, starting with Yura wasn't a bad choice. Unfortunately, Do-guk hadn't thought of this. He wanted to take revenge on the evil mother and avenge Yi-joo. When he learned that assistant Jung-ha's family had been harmed by her, the assistant hated Jong Hye deeply. Do-guk gave the assistant a large sum of money and asked him to find Dong-soo, the suspect in the fire. Do-guk was planning to make Jong Hye lose everything now that she was at the peak of her life. After gaining control of the company, she was not satisfied. She planned to mobilize close shareholders to seize all the power at the upcoming shareholders meeting. At the same time, she and Yura often appeared in the media, using the love scandal between Yura and the heir to the TJ Group to win over shareholders. Do-guk's mother, who was sensitive to the news, guessed Jong Hye's intentions. She told Dona and Sujin to help Yi-joo. That night, for the first time after their marriage, Yi-joo and Do-guk hosted guests at home. Dona and her husband, along with Sujin and her lover, came to wish the newlyweds happiness. They drank and chatted happily. During the conversation, Sujin joked that Yi-joo looked beautiful when she smiled. Sujin asked Do-guk if this was what he liked about Yi-joo. Yi-joo shyly went to buy wine with Do-guk. Do-guk noticed that Yi-joo seemed to have changed into a different person, happier, more smiling, no longer cold like before. Yi-joo now had the courage to be herself, surrounded by love and happiness since getting married. The two laughed and talked as they returned home. Seeing everyone discuss how to deal with Jong Hye, Dona revealed that she had secretly obtained the company's shareholder list and planned to contact shareholders to prevent them from siding with Jong Hye. Yi-joo looked at her friends, who sincerely helped her, and tears filled her eyes as she smiled, thanking them. The next day, based on the clue provided by Jong Hye's assistant, Do-guk went to pick up the arsonist, Dong-soo, from prison. Do-guk invited Dong-soo to eat tofu and explained that he had paid him a settlement fee for an early release. Do-guk asked Dong-soo if he had received orders from Jong Hye to harm Yi-joo and her biological mother. Dong-soo didn't admit it, but he did reveal that Jong Hye was his lover. Do-guk understood Dong-soo's intentions and promised to reward him with a large sum of money if he told the truth. While Do-guk was dealing with Jong Hye, Yi-joo was not idle either. She discovered that in the company's shareholder list, there was a woman holding 5% of the shares. Her name was very familiar, and her contact address was the same place where Yi-joo had attended cooking classes. Yi-joo suspected that the woman had come to find her teacher and couldn't understand why she would spend so much money to buy shares in a small company. The teacher suspected that Yi-joo wanted to collaborate with her to take down Jong Hye. Lately, the teacher had been observing the wives attending the cooking class who held shares, and she intended to give Yi-joo their contact information. Her kindness towards Yi-joo confirmed the teacher's suspicions. Yi-joo recalled noticing a burn scar on the teacher's hand, which connected to the name of her biological mother mentioned by her father. This name matched one on the shareholder list, leading Yi-joo to realize that the teacher was her biological mother. Upon discovering the truth, Yi-joo broke down in tears. The teacher stopped her from leaving and apologized, explaining that she never meant to abandon her years ago. After the fire, her father had told her that Yi-joo was dead, and so, devastated, she moved to the US with him. It wasn't until her father's recent death that he revealed the truth. Yi-joo was sent to an orphanage. The teacher had come to Korea in search of her daughter, and had been afraid to reveal herself out of fear of Yi-joo's resentment. Instead, she kept her distance, wanting only to help Yi-joo as a friend. Yi-joo, still tearful, asked why her mother hadn't confided in her earlier. She expressed that no matter the trouble, she would have supported her mother. The teacher, despite the many rejections, insisted on showing Yi-joo love and affection. Mother and daughter embraced each other and cried. Together, they vowed to take revenge on the evil Jong-hye. Jong-hye, realizing the teacher had sided with Yi-joo, tried to convince the cooking teacher to align with her. However, seeing the mother and daughter together, Jong-hye was intimidated and retreated. She angrily scolded Dong-soo, accusing him of not doing his job. As Jong-hye pondered her next move, she received a call from the lawyer she had bribed regarding Yi-joo's grandfather. The lawyer informed her that the grandfather was trying to assist Yi-joo, which sparked an idea in Jong-hye. At her request, the lawyer brought Yi-joo's grandfather to her. She forced him to sign the stock transfer agreement, but he tore it up, refusing to comply. Instead, he grabbed Jong-hye by the neck, determined to protect his family. Jong-hye struggled to push him away, enraged. She ordered her subordinates to keep an eye on him, then sought a way to force the grandfather to transfer the shares. When she returned home, she found Dong-soo standing outside. She quickly told her assistant to take Yura away, then took Dong-soo to a secluded place. Dong-soo revealed that a man had recently inquired about the fire, unaware that it was Do-guk. Jong-hye then demanded that Dong-soo keep this information secret and blamed him for the problems that had arisen. Dong-soo, fearful, was coerced into agreeing. Jong-hye then ordered him to kill Yi-joo to avoid further complications. The shareholders' meeting soon began. Yi-joo's father, now holding the DNA test results, confronted his wife, asking if Yi-joo was truly his daughter. Jong-hye panicked, tearing up the results and pretending to be innocent. She tried to downplay the situation, comforted her husband, and left for the meeting unaware of his suspicious gaze. At the meeting, the first proposal was to remove Yi-joo's father from his position. The teacher stood up, asking about the chairman's condition, demanding an honest answer. Yi-joo also questioned why her father had handed over control of the company to Jong-hye instead of a director. Jong-hye ignored their inquiries, ordering her staff to drag Yi-joo out. Amid the chaos, the assistant arrived with Yi-joo's grandfather, who had been locked away in the company warehouse. He exposed Jong-hye's lies, accusing her of forging documents and trying to ruin his family. To prevent her from succeeding, the grandfather planned to file for a mental examination to revoke the guardianship and transfer the shares to Yi-joo, making her the largest shareholder. Yi-joo then announced to the shareholders that due to her family's conflicts, she would delegate the company to a professional manager, refusing to take control herself. The shareholders applauded her decision. Seeing her defeat, Jong-hye stormed out of the room, complaining to her husband and blaming Yi-joo. Her husband scolded her for her shamelessness and ambition, telling her she had only wanted to be the chairman. Before Jong-hye could respond, Yi-joo's father, with the help of her grandfather, revealed the truth. Yi-joo, in a fit of anger, confronted Jong-hye, swearing to expose her and bring her to justice. Jong-hye, unfazed, pushed her away, daring her to do her worst. She then arrogantly drove off, unaware that Do-guk was following her. At a hotel, she found that her husband had blocked all her accounts. With no money left, she sought out Dong-soo, asking to stay with him temporarily. She took a key from him and entered an old motel with a cold, disdainful expression. Do-guk noticed that Jong-hye had left and immediately called Dong-soo back. He planned to bribe Dong-soo with money to work for him. Dong-soo greedily mentioned that Jong-hye had previously given him 300,000 W to kill Yi-joo. Do-guk, however, offered double the amount if Dong-soo could find out information about Jong-hye, along with a wiretap for help. Seeing the money, Dong-soo quickly agreed. Meanwhile, Yura had been struggling with a loss of appetite and nausea from the smell of food. She was about to bring food into the kitchen when she overheard a conversation between her father and grandfather. Her father regretted not recognizing Yi-joo sooner, mentioning that he always felt Yi-joo looked more like him than Yura did, which only fueled his hatred for her. He didn't want the child from the orphanage to resemble him, and now that the truth had come out, he despised Yi-joo even more. He didn't dare face Yi-joo and beg for her forgiveness. Yura, who was witnessing their emotional breakdown, felt resentful and didn't want to stay in the house any longer. She decided to ask Jong-uk for help, wanting to cooperate with him to deal with Yi-joo. Jong-uk, uninterested in her family matters, advised Yura to sell the high-end fake paintings hidden by Jong-hae. With the money, he promised to help her bribe senior managers in the TJA group, making it easy for Yura to deal with Yi-joo once he became the heir to the group. Yura said she'd consider it. Facing her difficult situation, she asked Jong-wook to let her stay at the TJA group's hotel temporarily. He agreed. Once Yura moved into the hotel, she discovered she was pregnant and rushed to her mother for advice. Jong-hae, upon learning about her daughter's pregnancy with Jong-uk's child, was thrilled. She knew her mother-in-law, who adored children, would be delighted by the news, and it might help her son become the heir to the group. Jong-ha eagerly went to see Jong-uk and told him about the pregnancy, but he suspected the child wasn't his. Yura, humiliated, insisted the child was his, even if he didn't admit it. Later, when Jong-uk saw how agitated Yura was, he realized the child was indeed his. He hugged her and praised her for doing a good job. Meanwhile, Dong-soo, having obtained the wiretap, found an opportunity to gather information. That evening, he arranged to meet Jong-hae and demanded half of the deposit before he would kill Yi-joo. Jong-hae, who didn't have the money, told Dong-soo to calm down. She claimed to possess many paintings by famous artists, and if she sold one, it would fetch a high price. Do-guk and the others, listening through the wiretap, recalled that whenever Jong-hae needed money, she would auction off famous artists' paintings, though no one knew where she acquired them. Yi-joo suddenly remembered an auction in her previous life, where a rich lady exposed Jang-hae for selling fake paintings. She realized that Jong-hae didn't own any genuine paintings by famous artists. She must have been commissioning someone to create forgeries. If Yi-joo could find this artist, Jong-hae could be arrested for fraud. To confirm that Jong-hae's paintings were fake, Yi-joo asked her assistant to help. He agreed to bring one of the paintings to be appraised. Dong-soo, now in the exhibition hall, sat leisurely while cutting his nails. Yura, who returned, was furious upon seeing him. Dong-soo was about to ask about the paintings when he suddenly noticed how much she resembled him. He smiled meaningfully before leaving behind the lipstick Jong-hae had left at the motel and telling Yura to return it to her mother. Yura, now with the lipstick, began to question her identity. Later, Yura went to her grandfather to find out more about Dong-soo. Seeing her worried expression, her grandfather revealed that Dong-soo was her mother's ex-lover. He even mentioned that Jong-hae had once ordered Dong-soo to set a fire that almost killed Yi-joo and her biological mother. Shocked by this revelation, Yura returned to the gallery, where she met Yi-joo, who had been waiting for her. Yi-joo explained that the gallery was about to close, as the paintings were being appraised as fake, and the gallery selling them would soon be arrested. Furious, Yura realized that Jong-hae had lied to her all along, claiming the paintings were genuine. She rushed to the hotel to confront her mother, but upon entering, she overheard Jong-hae lying to the rich ladies, claiming she was going abroad for a vacation. Jong-hae also revealed Yura's pregnancy to them, and boasted that Yura would become part of the TJA group in the future. Feeling utterly betrayed, Yura ran out, her trust shattered. Returning to the gallery, Yura, holding the nail clipper Dong-soo had used, began to suspect whether she was Dong-soo's daughter. The next day she confronted her mother, asking if she was indeed her biological daughter. Jong-hae, with no change in expression, confirmed that Yura was her and her husband's child. Later, Yura told her mother about the police accusing the gallery of selling fake goods. Jong-hee, realizing she was about to be caught, ran to Dong-soo's car, ordering him to drive to the hospital where Yi-joo's grandfather had once lived. There, they planned to sell the paintings to Japan before running away. However, the wiretap had allowed Do-guk to overhear their plans, and he quickly informed Yi-joo. The two quickly split up, heading to the hospital. Dong-soo drove toward the hospital, but as he saw Yi-joo talking to Do-guk, he ordered him to act on Yi-joo. Do-guk, arriving later, saw the situation and reminded Yi-joo. Just as Yi-joo noticed the car rushing toward her and saw Jong Hae's sinister expression, she was filled with fear. Fortunately, Do-guk rushed to block Yi-joo. He got out of the car and comforted her, feeling relieved that he hadn't lost her again. Yi-joo didn't fully understand what he meant, and just as she was about to ask, the police arrived and arrested Jong Hye and Dong Soo. The painter was also taken into custody. Jong Hye's assistant was shocked to see the painter's face. It turned out he was the true creator of the masterpiece. Jong Hye had been locking the painter in the hospital, giving him psychiatric medication, and forcing him to paint while pretending the artist was dead. She was trying to sell the paintings at high prices. Jong Hye and Dong Soo were taken to the police station, and the old fire case was reopened. The police found traces on the gas tank from the explosion, proving Dong Soo had intentionally set the fire. Dong Soo, seeing everything exposed, quickly produced a recording of Jong Hye instructing him to deny responsibility. He claimed she ordered him to do it. Jong Hye's assistant also appeared at the station, revealing he was the artist's son and accusing Jong Hye of imprisoning his father. Jong Hye was arrested for committing numerous serious crimes. After Jong Hye's arrest, Yi-joo and Do-guk returned home. Yi-joo finally had the chance to ask Do-guk what he had meant earlier about being afraid of losing her again. In a panic, Do-guk knocked over a cup while cleaning and accidentally cut his hand. Yi-joo looked at the wound and noticed the date symbol on his wrist. It startled her. After coming back to life a year ago, a symbol appeared on her wrist, marking the date of her death. Now, she saw Do-guk had the same symbol, matching the time of her death. She asked him about it, and Do-guk confessed he was also someone who had gone back in time. What shocked her even more was that Do-guk had been the one who crashed into her car in the collision. He had tried to save her when she was unconscious, but he was seriously injured, passed out, and woke up a year ago. Do-guk was deeply regretful and couldn't bring himself to tell Yi-joo the truth. He moved into a hotel to stay, leaving Yi-joo heartbroken. Yi-joo, seeking comfort, went to her biological mother. When her mother saw Yi-joo alone, she guessed that something was wrong with her and Do-guk. Yi-joo cried in front of her mother, afraid Do-guk was with her out of guilt and not love. Her biological mother patiently comforted her, reassuring her that Do-guk truly loved her. Yi-joo had always been treated coldly by Jong Hye, making her feel unlovable. Her mother promised to give her all the love she had missed. Meanwhile, Yura's pregnancy was becoming more noticeable, and she told Jong-uk to arrange for the two families to meet and discuss their wedding. Jong-uk took Yura to meet her parents. His grandmother was thrilled when she saw the ultrasound image of the baby, while Do-guk's mother stared at Yura, who was sitting silently. After the meeting, Jong-uk received an urgent call from Secretary Jang, informing him that a worker had fallen from the third floor at a construction site due to a lack of safety nets. The worker was seriously injured. Jong-uk told Secretary Jang to contact the contractor and push all the blame onto the worker to avoid exposing the company's failure to provide proper safety. Not long after, the worker passed away. Do-guk sensed something was wrong. That night, he sent staff to the funeral site and discovered thugs guarding the door. He knew they were hiding something. To investigate further, Do-guk met with the worker's wife and secretly brought her to see him. The wife cried, revealing that the group had put all the responsibility on her husband, asking her to reconcile quickly. She showed him documents proving the company's wrongdoing. Do-guk listened, deep in thought. Yi-joo watched the news about the accident and wanted to send Do-guk a message of concern, but couldn't bring herself to do it. After some time, she decided to take clothes for him at the hotel. When they met, she asked Do-guk about the construction site. Do-guk confessed he had found clues but wasn't sure whether to expose them, as it would harm his family and the group. Yi-joo, angry, argued that hiding the problem would only cause greater damage. She persuaded Do-guk to do the right thing, and the next day, he met with Secretary Jang to get documents about the worker's death. Do-guk saw Secretary Jang talking to his child and mentioned the worker's wife being pregnant. He emphasized how pitiful the situation was, and Secretary Jang, moved, gave Do-guk the documents. Do-guk then took the documents to his grandmother and father, revealing that the company had caused the worker's death by neglecting safety measures. He also presented evidence of Jong-uk's embezzlement, which Secretary Jang had given him. Do-guk's father was furious and confronted Jong-uk, throwing the embezzlement evidence onto the table. Jong-uk, realizing things were turning against him, pretended to be pitiful, throwing himself at his father to beg for forgiveness. But it was too late. Do-guk's grandmother held a press conference admitting the company's failure to ensure safety at the construction site, leading to the worker's death. She apologized to the public and appointed Do-guk as the inspector for all the company's construction sites. Yura, watching the news, became frantic. The Jong-wook she had relied on was now the one abandoned by the corporation. After the incident, Do-guk calls Yi-joo and asks her to go to his bedroom to open a secret room which contains something he wants her to see. Upon entering, Yi-joo finds that the room holds her paintings, her best works, which had been sold overseas. Confused, she asks Do-guk why he has her paintings. Do-guk smiles and explains that he bought her paintings years ago and became captivated by them. Since then, he's been trying to find the artist. When he returned to Korea, he discovered the artist was Yi-joo, but she was already engaged, so he kept his feelings hidden. Do-guk silently cared for Yi-joo until they met, and he saw her being harmed by her own family, which made him furious. On the way back, Do-guk had a traffic accident and found himself a year in the past. Yi-joo had become a different person, and that's when she suggested he sign a marriage contract with her as revenge against Jong-hae and Yura. When Yi-joo asked why Do-guk agreed, he confessed, saying that he loved her. He kissed her, and they spent a sweet night together. The next day, they went to see a fortune teller to understand why they were sent back in time. The fortune teller performed a spell and revealed that the accident was supposed to kill only one person, but both died, disrupting the flow of time and space. The fortune teller advised them to cherish the 1 year they had been given. Do-guk wondered why the gods gave them time, but didn't reverse it, leaving him questioning the purpose of their return. Yi-joo told him not to overthink it and to cherish their present time. In the following months, Yi-joo often visited her biological mother's house. One day, while eating a meal prepared by her mother, Yi-joo felt nauseous and discovered she was pregnant. Do-guk was overjoyed when he heard the news and embraced Yi-joo tightly. It was the same day of the traffic accident, and Yi-joo hoped her pregnancy was a sign that they could have a peaceful day. However, Do-guk received an urgent call from his staff about Jong-uk, who had been injured in prison and escaped while being treated. Do-guk rushed home to find that Yi-joo was missing. Panicking, Do-guk reviewed the footage and saw that Yi-joo had been drugged and abducted by a mysterious person in black. The person in black revealed himself to be Jong-uk. After Do-guk was informed that Jong-uk's leg was fine, they tracked his location, and Do-guk sped after him. Meanwhile, Yi-joo was trying to free herself, and as she untied the ropes, she took the opportunity to grab Jong-uk, forcing him to stop the car. Angrily, he grabbed her neck, causing her to faint and retie her. Do-guk arrived just in time and punched Jong-uk to the ground before checking Yi-joo. Jong-uk tried to attack Do-guk, but Do-guk fought back. As they struggled, a truck came toward them. Yi-joo screamed, but the truck passed by, and just then, the symbols on both Do-guk and Yi-joo's hands vanished. Do-guk was rushed to the hospital with serious injuries, and Yi-joo stayed by his side, comforted by his mother, who didn't blame her. Meanwhile, Jong-uk remained unrepentant, blaming his father for his life's difficulties. When Jong-uk's father confronted him, he gave him a letter from his biological mother, which revealed that she had abandoned him and his father. Jong-uk, now realizing the truth, regretted his actions. He was arrested and imprisoned. Yura, on the other hand, was kicked out of the hotel because no one paid for her room. She came to Do-guk's house, shamelessly claiming she had nowhere to go and that her unborn child needed to be taken care of. Do-guk's grandmother agreed to take her in only if a DNA test proved the child was Jong-uk's. Yura, realizing she couldn't escape, remained silent. As Do-guk was undergoing surgery, Yi-joo anxiously waited outside. She reflected on the beautiful memories with Do-guk, realizing that God had sent her back in time not for revenge, but to heal her painful life with Do-guk. Do-guk, now in a coma, relived the accident and felt deep regret for how Yi-joo had been mistreated. He prayed for her to have a life full of love, and when he passed away, he returned to the present. His surgery was successful, and Do-guk finally woke up. Yi-joo, who had been taking care of him for 2 months, cried with relief as he regained consciousness. Once Do-guk recovered and was discharged, the two decided to leave their painful past behind and look forward to a new life. They welcomed their child and lived happily as a family of 3. Meanwhile, Yura struggled, having nowhere to go. She went to Se-hyok's house, where Se-hyok introduced his girlfriend and they decided to get married. The girlfriend also offered to buy a gift for Se-hyok's younger sister, Se-hyok, who happily accepted. Unexpectedly, Yura arrived and ruined everything. She entered the house and claimed that Se-hyok was the father of her baby, shocking the entire family. Se-hyok recalled that he had indeed slept with Yura, so it was possible that he was the father. When faced with his girlfriend's questions, Se-hyok could only apologize, and his girlfriend hurriedly left, not understanding why Yura had kept the baby if she didn't love him at all. Yura, however, was delusional and believed the baby was Jong Yukei's child, but it turned out to be Se-hyok's. Yura used the pregnancy as an excuse to stay at Se-hyok's house. At this point, Yura was in complete despair. Living in a small house felt like hell to her. Jong Hae knew that Yura was staying at Se-hyok's house, and, not wanting his daughter to suffer, suggested that Yura fake a DNA test to marry into a rich family. Yura, furious, confronted her mother. To this day, Jong Hae had no regrets. She hated Yura for blaming her for everything and hoped that Yura would take revenge on Yi-joo. Yura, now without the will to fight, asked her mother for money, but unfortunately her mother's personal assets had been frozen and there was little left. Realizing her mother couldn't help her, Yura left. Before she left, she told Jong Hae that she wouldn't visit her in prison again and hoped her mother wouldn't come looking for her once she was released. Yura had completely abandoned the evil Jong Hae. In contrast, Yi-joo had a close relationship with her biological mother. The two sat together, eating and chatting, enjoying their private time. Yi-joo was about to register her marriage with Do-guk, and her biological mother shared that she had decided not to reconcile with Yi-joo's father, choosing to remain friends. Yi-joo respected her mother's decision and continued enjoying the meal. After meeting her mother, Yi-joo was eager to spend time with Do-guk, and the two went to register their marriage. They officially became a couple. Yi-joo took Do-guk to the place where they first met after returning to the past. She showed him the hotel room card and mimicked Do-guk's reaction from that time, which made him laugh. As she waited for his reaction, Do-guk suddenly kneeled on one knee, pulling out a ring and placing it on her finger with all his sincerity. Yi-joo, overwhelmed with emotion, hugged him tightly, feeling loved and protected, the happiest woman in the world. Do-guk helped her up and carried her upstairs to enjoy their wedding night. A year passed, and the happy family of three took family photos at home. Life is full of unexpected twists, but in the end, true happiness finds those who never give up on love, growth, and second chances. Yi-joo and Do-guk's story shows us that even after pain, betrayal, and loss, there's always hope for a new beginning. No matter how dark the past may seem, the future is still ours to create. Cherish the moments, embrace love, and trust that everything will fall into place when we take control. Thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Comment what you would want me to recap on next in the comment section. See you again in the next one.